correctness meets Christian apologetics. This is truth, the objective reality.
Hello there, everybody. Recently, or I should say over the course of the past several months, when I have had conversations with my family about the coronavirus lockdowns and how long they'll last, at points I have talked about how the coronavirus restrictions will probably magically vanish after the election takes place on November 3rd. I also talked to them about the possibility of the coronavirus lockdowns being continued if President Trump wins the 2020 election. Well, folks, it seems like both possibilities are on the table. It turns out that the idea that the Democrats will continue the coronavirus lockdowns if President Trump wins the 2020 election, or they will cease the lockdowns if Biden magically wins somehow through election rigging, it seems like that's what the Democrats plan to do. The reason why I think that, well, I actually have some evidence that points pretty strongly in that direction. I have here on screen an article from Coin6, which is a local news outlet in Oregon, I believe in the Portland area. They put out an article recently titled, "Governor Brown Extends COVID-19 State of Emergency to November." In the article, it says the following: Governor Kate Brown has officially extended Oregon's state of emergency due to coronavirus concerns once again. She said the extension lasts until November 3rd, an additional 60 days. She will reevaluate then and consider another extension. The extension through September was declared back in June. So think about this, guys. Here we are in September, and Kate Brown says, we need to extend the coronavirus state of emergency another 60 days. As a matter of fact, we're going to have this new extension expire on November 3rd, and then we'll consider on that day whether or not we need to continue the lockdown extension. Gee, what happens on November 3rd? I wonder if that day has any significance to the citizens of the United States of America. Oh, that's right. November 3rd is Election Day. Not just for the office of United States President, but for other political offices as well. It's almost like Kate Brown wants the lockdowns in Oregon to go until November 3rd, and then she's going to wait to see who wins the election. If Trump wins, let's continue the lockdowns, guys. Let's do it for another 2 months. Or if Joe Biden wins, all right, guys, lockdown's over. Have fun. Now, if it was just Kate Brown, that'd be one thing, but it wasn't just Kate Brown. I have here on screen an article from the Daily Wire titled, "Audio. Los Angeles County Health Director says she expects schools to reopen after the election." So it wasn't enough for Los Angeles County to cancel Halloween in the month of October, but it turns out they just want to keep things locked down until they see what happens on the November 3rd election. The article reads, "On Wednesday, audio surfaced of Los Angeles County Public Health Director Barbara Ferrer saying that K-12 schools in America's largest county likely will not open until after the November election. KFI News radio reporter Steve Gregory said he received a partial audio recording of a conference call between Dr. Ferrer and a collection of school nurses, school administrators, other education, and medical professionals. During that discussion, Ferrer indicated that she does not expect schools to reopen before the November election. We don't realistically anticipate that we will be moving to either Tier 2 or reopening K-12 schools at least until after the election in early November," Ferrer said. "When we look at the timing of everything, it seems to us a more realistic approach to this would be to think that we're going to be where we are now until we are done with the election." So we're going to stay in lockdown until after the election on November 3rd. Not any of the other BS reasons like we need to stay in lockdown until there's a vaccine. We need to stay in lockdown until the coronavirus cases is at or near zero. We need to stay in lockdown until X, Y, or Z. There's probably a million different BS reasons that Fur could have said as to why we need to wait until after the election in November. But no. Her frame of reference for when we need to reevaluate the lockdowns and whether or not we should continue them is after the November 3rd election. It's almost like Fur is thinking, okay, if Trump wins the 2020 election, we just got to continue those lockdowns. Obviously, the coronavirus is spreading even more if Trump won the election. But if Joe Biden wins the election, well then clearly sanity and reason have prevailed and the coronavirus has been halted, and therefore we can just end the lockdowns because the people voting right for a change is why the coronavirus disappeared. Now, I'm sure that the far leftists and the globalists will say that you're a crazy conspiracy theorist if you suggest that the Democrats will continue the lockdowns if Trump wins the 2020 election, but that they'll lift the lockdowns and end them if Biden wins. They'll call you a crazy conspiracy theorist, most likely, if you suggest to them that this is the game plan of the Democrat Party and Democrat politicians. But when you look at what Governor Kate Brown did with extending her coronavirus emergency to the November 3rd election, and you have the health director for Los Angeles County in California saying that we need to wait until after the election to reassess whether or not to open schools, whether or not to end these coronavirus lockdowns and restrictions. It seems like their decision to either end the lockdowns related to coronavirus or to extend them is all hinging on that November 3rd election. It's almost like the winner of that election will determine whether or not the lockdowns will end. It's almost like if Joe Biden wins through election rigging, that the lockdowns will magically be over, but if Trump wins, then we got to have 4 more years of lockdown. If I had to give an educated guess, if I had to give my most reasonable expectation for what will happen in November if Donald Trump wins the 2020 presidential election, my most professional, reasonable, and educated guess is that if Donald Trump wins the 2020 election, I will bet you that the Democrats and the far leftist authoritarians and globalists will be vouching for extending the lockdown through the rest of Donald Trump's second term. I'm betting on that. I think they will try to make the lockdowns go through the rest of Trump's presidency, whether that ends in November this year or if that ends in 2024. If you guys want to tell me what you think about this issue, if you think the Democrats will either end the lockdowns or extend the lockdowns after Trump wins, or whether they'll extend or end the lockdowns after Biden wins, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below. I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Well, folks, that's all I have for you. If you liked what you saw in this video and you want to help me go from being a part-time to full-time content creator, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button, check out my other videos, leave your likes and comments below. If you want to contribute financially to TTOR, I would encourage you to do so because every little bit helps. And if you would like to do so, well, I encourage you to check out my Subscribestar account. You can buy me coffees at my coffee page, or you can purchase products from my Teespring store. Links to all 3 of those in the description box below. If you want to check out my book, Another Inconvenient Truth, What Secular America Hates, you can purchase it off Amazon as either a Kindle or as a paperback. And you'll see the link to that in the description box below as well. Thank you for watching and have an excellent day.